Hey girl, you ever just wake up feeling guilty? Like before you even get out of bed, your brain is already starting to go through all the things that you didn't do right. Like you didn't play with the kids enough the day before, or you yelling too much. You didn't feel like watching the movie with them on the couch. And you're just going through all those things and immediately you start to feel this thing, mom guilt, and that's what we're going to be getting into today. And it just reminds me of that hater friend, right? Who literally just never has anything good to say and never remembers anything good that you've done, right? And it's so sneaky because mom guilt doesn't care if you're a stay-at-home mom, if you're a single mom, or if you're somebody just doing all the things, right? It literally hits you at your weak spots and it never lets you forget about any of it, right? It creeps into your whole way you see yourself as a mom. But this is what I want you to sit with today. Who told you that being a good mom means being like good and great all the time? So today we're definitely going to call it out. We're going to get into why is mom guilt so loud? Where does it come from? And most importantly, how do we shut it down and shut it up? And it's not going to be with like that whole fluffy self-care that really doesn't help. We're going to dig deep and we want to just get to the source of just knowing that you're playing a game that was already rigged. So welcome to season 2, episode 2 of Connected Corrections. So first of all, let's really just get into it. What is mom guilt and why does it start to feel like we're all stuck in it? And I think the simplest way to look at it, it's just like this nagging feeling that we just start to get that no matter what we do, that it is just not enough. I know that's how I look at it. But here's the wild part. I started to realize that it is not just a feeling. It's almost like this expectation, like a pressure cooker. And we've all been thrown into it without even realizing it. And I'm starting to just see that we literally just live in a society that tells us that as moms, we are required to do it all. But then we start to get judged the second that we're seen struggling. And it's weird because moms are just expected to be completely present and to keep our careers going and then having the Pinterest home and somehow in the midst of all of that still take care of ourselves. But not too much though, right? We don't take care of ourselves too much because then we're seen as being selfish. Just make it make sense. Make it make sense. And I know I am not the only one feeling like this because when I start to feel like this and I talk to my friends who have children, we're all saying the same thing. So let's be real. Every mom has felt this in some kind of way. And if you're looking and watching this video and saying that you haven't, honestly, I just don't believe you. But where does all of this guilt come from? And I think that's really where we should start diving into next. What is the root of mom guilt? Here's the thing. I don't feel like mom guilt started with us. Just like so many other things, it has been passed down generation to generation. If we can even go further, we were raised, or at least I'm gonna say me, I was raised with the idea that a good mom is selfless. They're patient, they never complain. If you struggle in silence, that's normal. My mom did everything and I did not hear her complain unless it was obviously at me for not doing something. But as a mom, I didn't hear her say she didn't like it. And the world wants us to be everything at once. And again, like I said, criticizes the moment we drop the ball on something. Meanwhile, I feel like dads are praised just for showing up, and moms get judged harshly for not being perfect. And I know it sounds like, the old woman thing to say when we talk about social media and comparison. For example, we only see the highlight reels of other moms' experiences, and then we judge those as our own, and we feel like we're failing. But if you really think about it, no one's going to post their child like thrown on the floor in the middle of a restaurant and them yelling at them, or just doing something that you would obviously feel judged for. No one's posting that kind of stuff. You see all the great things their kids are doing, or how well behaved their children are. But we know realistically that's not true. And at the end of the day, mom guilt is just a system that was just designed to keep us exhausted, overwhelmed, and just most of all doubting ourselves. And I don't know about y'all, but I am not about that life, especially having a child that's 15 at this point. I just had to start letting it go, okay? And that's gonna roll into the next part of the conversation, how to just live a life free of mom guilt. And the biggest lie that was ever told, that the goal of motherhood is literally getting it right. And it's really not. I've just learned that, especially the older your kids get, like I said, my oldest is 15, my middle is 13, and the youngest is 6. But the goal is to be present, to love your kids the best you can, mistakes and all. I love seeing new moms, especially when they start getting into that toddler age. And as a new mom, you're so excited and you're doing all the things because you're thinking preventative. If I do this, then this will be the outcome. And the older my children have gotten and started, they've always been their own people, but let's be clear, as your child gets older and they get to that age where a lot of the things that you are doing are beyond your control, you get to this point when you realize you have to learn to let it go. You can't always control the outcome of everything, no matter how much you put into it, because your children are their own people. So with that being said, yes, you're focused on the lessons and all the things you want to teach them and all the things that you want to pour into them, and all of those things are high priority. But I start to realize that as your child grows and they start now going into the world and you're not there and present in every aspect of their life, it's just really important to just focus on the present and the connection that you're building with them, and just love them for who they are. It's inevitable that they're going to make mistakes. And I find a lot of parents of teens, of course, myself included, that's where most of your parenting guilt comes from. For my parents who are new parents, or you have small children, again, sometimes the guilt comes from, are you doing it right? Are you raising them right? Did you yell at them? Did you not spend enough time? There are things you can, and the answer to probably all of that is yes. But in the moment, it's a short-sighted view to have. And I guess, that is the point. I really just want to drive that you're not going to get it right all the time. So it's important that you just stop chasing perfection. Because ask your parents, it does not exist. Even if you just think you're doing the best, job or whatever the case is, there's still something you're going to get wrong. So it's important that you just focus on shifting your mindset from doing it all to really just doing what matters. And that can change from season to season. Find joy in the simplest moments and not the staged ones. Yeah, I guess my biggest thing that I want to add to this segment. You're not going to be able to do it all and please everyone in every single moment. So you can offload that thought right away. And since we're starting to redefine what success in motherhood actually looks like, we can start taking away the power that guilt holds. And that to me is the biggest game changer. All right. And you know me, let's get into the actual how. Because it's one thing to say, let go of mom guilt. Don't worry about it, girl. Offload it, yada, yada, yada. But it's another thing to actually do it. And here are some ways that I listed on how you can actually start that. All right. So the first one is to set realistic expectations. You are one person. You are not a machine. So it is important that you give yourself grace. Number two, if you follow me on Instagram, you know I talk about this all the time. Celebrate small wins. That can be in your, you just snuggling with your little, or, doing a bedtime story, whatever it is that you got to do. You folded laundry on the same day that you washed it. Celebrate that, because it is a big deal. And the more you celebrate yourself, it does give you that little boost that you need. Number three, practice mindfulness. So when guilt does creep in, pause. Ask yourself, is this something that you would be telling your best friend? And if the answer is no, then you don't need to be telling it to yourself either. I also want to mention, give me a second. Y'all know these chairs are squeaky. But I want you to know that these are things that I am mindfully also doing for myself. So after I'm done, talking about these, I just also want to go with one that I did for myself. So let me just finish. 1, 2, 3. Oh, so it was three. It was three. So I did give you all of them. So the first one, again, is to set realistic expectations. Second one is to celebrate small wins. And the third one is to practice mindfulness. And the reason I say the actual practicing of it, because it is so easy to know, and then it's a whole nother ball game to actually do. And this is not about ignoring your responsibilities. It's just giving yourself permission to be human. And I'm gonna pause there before we get into the next segment of the show, because I actively had to do this just this week. And sometimes this is what gives me the confirmation that when we have experiences that make us feel like we are not being our best selves, it's important that we actively document it, or share it out, or whatever the case is, because it helps us realize that we're not the only people going through this human experience that we all have. Obviously, it's going to be different based on, your life circumstances, but we all feel the same things. And that's why I wanted to really just hone into saying a lot of these things out loud, because again, if you grew up never seeing your mom feel sad or feel overwhelmed or whatever, you grow up thinking that that's not something that mothers feel. But then when you have your own experience and you're in the thick of it for yourself, you have no real point of reference to say, okay, this is something normal. But nevertheless, the number one thing I think we can all agree on is just immediately feeling like, I'm a bad mother, I'm a bad mother, I'm a bad mother, I'm a bad mother. And that is exhausting, right? Because again, I told you how guilt does it. It doesn't remind you of all the good things that you've done. I'm pulling up the Bible app, by the way. It doesn't remind you of all the good things you've done. It doesn't remind you when your kids told you that they love you. It doesn't remind you that, like when your spouse tells you, oh my God, you're doing a great job. Like, it never reminds you of that. It only harps on all the things that you feel inadequate about, bad about, right? So I listed out all the things, and I'm not going to go through my list, not because I don't want to share it, but I think it's also important that certain things, I do keep to myself. But the number one thing, like I said, is the I'm a bad mother, because I know that's the number one thing I always hear over and over and over. So I pulled it up I do two versions. I do the King James version, and then I like to either go to the message version or the New International Version, just so I can have sometimes like a better context of what's being said. But listen to this verse, because I like to go to scripture to see what is the Bible saying about what I'm feeling. Because again, nothing's new under the sun. So how can what I'm feeling be relevant to maybe something that was already happening to someone, or what did God say about it? Came up to Psalms 127, and it says, except the Lord build a house, they labor in vain, but build it. Except the Lord keep the city, the watchman waketh, but in vain. It is in vain for you to rise up early, to sit up late, to eat bread of sorrows, for he giveth his beloved sleep. Lo, children are a heritage of the Lord, and the fruit of the womb is his reward. As arrows are in the hand of a mighty man, so are children of the youth. Happy is the man that hath his quiver full of them. They shall not be ashamed, but they speak with the enemies in the gate. And I know sometimes when we read those versions, it feels confusing. So this is another translation of that, and that's in the New International Version. It says, unless the Lord builds the house, the builders labor in vain, right? So you can build whatever it is that you're trying to do, but unless you are in direct connection and alignment with God, you're doing that for no reason, no real purpose. Unless the Lord watches over the city, the guards stand watch in vain. Meaning you can think that you're being protected by your own will, or I'll just say that. But again, if God is not in it, it is in vain. It is in vain for you to rise early and stay up late, toiling for food to eat, for he grants sleep to those he loves. Wow, to me, that really spoke to me this week, simply just because it just feels like a lot of times we think when we're in a bind, we have to work harder, do more, work harder. When realistically, God is telling us that his actual design for us is not to have to do that. He actually wants us to do things with ease. And the only way we can do that is simply putting our faith and trust in him. So that definitely spoke to me. But I know you're probably like, okay, but how does that go to the whole, I'm a bad mother? Listen to what verse 3 says. Looking at this dog in my yard over here, hoping the owner come gets it. But it says, children are a heritage from the Lord, offspring a reward from him. Like arrows are in the hands of a warrior, are children born in one's youth. Blessed is the man who quivers is full of them. They will not be put to shame when they contend with their opponents in the court. That literally, I literally felt like, I don't know, this sense of peace come over me, because God is already telling us that Children are literally a blessing and an inheritance from him. What? So I can almost, it's almost like when you get to see your enemy's hand, so you know immediately their tactics and how they're trying to attack you. Wouldn't it make sense for the enemy to tell us that we're being bad mothers? It's like, obviously that's what he would use as to why that's number one on my list, because he knows that is our weak spot. That is the direct connection between us and who God has called us to be as mothers. So obviously that's where he would try to attack first. So like I said, it's not about just saying that, okay, live in bliss and nothing's ever going to be hard, and this is not, something, is this something that you shouldn't feel, but it's just saying you're also human. So yeah, I definitely just wanted to share that, because a lot of the strategies that you hear me saying to you guys is something that I still have to actively practice, because just because I know these things to be true, like I said, the knowing and the doing sometimes, I'm also human, and I have those days where it's creeping in, and I have to, take the time to really just allow myself to be human, but then also hold myself accountable and saying, no, based on whose you are, you know who you are. So you being a bam bomb is not true. And I'm telling you that as well. All right, let's move on how to really understand shame. Because mom guilt and shame, oh yeah, those two things go together real bad. And shame thrives in silence. So again, we're going to have to shut that down. We have to call out the negative self-talk. So when you start to hear, I'm a bad mom, I'm failing, you have to replace that immediately with, I'm learning, I'm human, I'm doing my best, and prioritizing your well-being. A burnt out mom is never a better mom. Taking care of yourself is literally being able to take care of the people around you. Find your support system. You want to surround yourself with other moms, family, just people who are going to love on you, but also keep it real, okay? So like I told you guys in the beginning, I'm not about that whole fake, everything needs to be perfect crowd. We need people that are going to get it. But like I said, the most important part of that is making sure they're also going to be able to call you out and keep it real with you and let you know when you are also doing wrong. Because I think sometimes we champion around, yeah, you're doing it right. Yeah. But then you also have to have the other part too, where it's like, no, girl, that was not right. But at the end of the day, you don't have to earn the right to be yourself. You deserve it, period. Okay. And this would be a great time for us to get into the Ask Shanna segment. So let me go ahead and pull up the question and wrap it up. This is where, again, I answer one of your burning questions. And if you would like to submit a question, you can email me at connectedcorrections@gmail.com. Or if you are on Instagram, you can DM me at speak_Shanna_speak and submit your questions there. Yes, I do answer the DMs. So the question comes from Ashley C. in Louisiana. She says, okay, this is a good one. Let me read it out loud. Shanna, I feel guilty every time I take a break. I know I need it, but I can't help but feel bad that I should be doing more. How do I deal with that? Well, first of all, girl, same. I used to honestly think that if I was not on 24/7, that I was failing my kids. But you know what I started to realize, especially the older they got, that taking care of yourself again is taking care of them. So my advice is start small. I get it. You can't just like throw your kids out, right? But give yourself permission to step away, even if it's just for small increments of time. And when that guilt starts to creep in, just remind yourself that a healthy mom is a better mom, period. And that can look like, if you want to maybe go to the store for yourself, or if you want to, while you're up and whatever, if they want to, that you leave them maybe doing an activity and you maybe go to the other room, or you have a snack while they're maybe doing something else. But start small things, like maybe within your home, and then simply start graduating to things maybe outside of your home, or if you have small children, as they get older and you feel comfortable, having childcare with someone else, because I know that's always a big thing. At least for me, it was. All right, so let's close it out. If you got anything from today's episode, I hope that you can just be left with this. You already are a good mom. You don't have to earn that title. Well, you do have to earn that title. No, I'm just joking. I just mean, like, you don't have to prove yourself to that title by running yourself down to the ground. Instead of trying to dismiss guilt, embrace it so that way you can call it out. And really just start embracing the journey of motherhood, meaning the flaws, the chaos, all of it creates the experience, okay? And you know what I'm gonna say here, because motherhood does not have to suck. And I will see you guys in the next video. Be sure to like this video and leave your comments down below. Guys, I love to respond to comments. So let me know your feedback on mom guilt. Are you experiencing it? Let's chat, and be sure to subscribe to the channel. See you in the next episode. Bye.